With who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Who you with, Kirk? I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. I'm out. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, though. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak on it. Welcome to Speak on it. I'm welcome to Speak. Welcome to Speak. I'm 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 who you with, Kirk, dog. Welcome to Speak on it with who you with, Kirk, dog. I'm who you with, Kirk, dog. Happy Tuesday to everyone. Hopefully everybody had a great day today. Today is always a good day, and every other day. Any day I can get up, it's a great day. Welcome to the show. I want to welcome everyone listening on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, Twitch. D Live is in the house. Even Twitter is in the house. You can live chat with us in the chat room. If you are on my personal page, switch over to Speak on it with who you with, Kurt Dog page, and we can actually display your chat in the chat room. I will try to read them all. But it have been an interesting day. So tonight, I want to know, how do y'all feel about the verdict today? I have my feelings about it, but I want to hear from y'all. See, how do y'all feel about it? You can actually call in if you want to, 972 591 3665. 972 591 3665. Been making some changes in the studio, so I'm trying to check out some things while we are live, since I wasn't able to do it beforehand. So so you can actually live chat with us. Some of the takeaway I see, I'm glad they did find him guilty, which is always good. And to see him get put in handcuffs, oh, that was even better. So that was a good thing. Put a smile on my face. But please do not get it confused. We still need a great sentence to go along with this conviction, because the sentence part is what's going to determine if justice really been done or not. Because we seen how they did here in Dallas with Amber Geiger, when it came down to the fact that she killed the a young brother in his own apartment, sitting on his couch, eating ice cream. So please do not get distracted. Do not get distracted thinking that, oh yeah, he's convicted, he's going to jail right now. But we also need for him to do the proper time for it. Because one thing about it is a difference between black laws and white laws. Because if there was a black man that was going through a trial, he never would have been out. He never would have been given the opportunity to post a bail. So you have to look at the inside of the story. Don't get it twisted, because it's not over yet. Yes, it's a conviction, but also that judge is also encouraging them to file an appeal for a retrial. So don't get it twisted. Yes, today was a great victory, but at the same time, if a retrial come up, it doesn't mean it's going to get the same outcome. Or if they decide not to get him a retrial, well, guess what? We still have the sentences phase of it. And in the sentences phase, we know a lot of white folks get a flap on the wrist, and they don't get the same penalty what they should get for the crime that they committed. So please don't get it twisted and understand that we as a people still need to pay attention to this because they will try to sneak it in where we don't understand exactly what's going on. So definitely pay a close attention to this. But I want to know how y'all feeling about this because me personally, yeah, it's good to see them put this man in handcuffs, take him out of out of the courtroom in handcuffs. But once again, who knows? He's convicted, but that don't mean a thing because he could get a retrial. He could be back on the streets again, or they could give him a slap on the wrist. If you paid attention in the trial, the judge did encourage. Um, he kept bringing up possible mistrial and stuff like that, but everybody have their opinion about these charges. This should have been murder. This dude, in my eyes, he intentionally tried to kill this brother, and that's a problem within itself because if that was a black man kneeling on a white man neck like that, it would have been an open shut case. They would have been unhad the trial and had the brother sentenced to for life. It wouldn't have been that easy. So don't get it twisted. Yes, we happy it's a conviction, but also the possible retrial could come up. Then also got to be concerned about the sentence. And the judge is the one that's going to sentence him. So that's what you have to look at. If the judge do the sentence, he can end up giving him a light sentence and then come off the bench and give him a hug. We seen that before. We got a call coming in. Hold on, let's see who this is.
Hi, a friend or family member who recently.
That's why I don't answer unknown numbers. But and if any of my friends or family is giving out my number, trust me, you will be blocked because I don't do that. Before I give out anybody information, I always check with them first. But definitely, this trial is definitely going to be a interesting thing. It's not over yet. We're still going to be in this fight. This fight is not over yet. I thought that was Big Bubba calling me back because he did call me earlier, and he asked me if I can send him a couple of things because he knew he was gonna have a visitor, a new roommate. So he wanted a pick and some Vaseline. I don't know what for, but he said he had company coming to hang out with him for a while. So y'all seen the picture going around on social media, Big Bubba and Derek. So they probably having a party. Kind of that scene from House Party when they was picking straws, who get the biggest one and get to go first. But hey, I'm glad they did find him guilty, but please, that's not the end of it. It's going to be more to it at the end of it because what have to happen is that sentence part of it, they have to be able to sentence him the correct way. Mess around, he get probation. Or he mess around and get a slap on the wrist like Amber Geiger did. And don't forget about her either because her hearing this next week, a week from today, where she's trying to get her sentence lowered to a lower sentence where she can actually get out of prison. Got somebody from Canada calling. Hold on. Oh, radio calling.
To accept, press 1.
Radio, what's going on, brother? You are on with Speak On It with who you with, Kurt, though.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How about yourself?
Good.
That's good. I'm sure you want to talk about that trial, that guilty verdict.
Yeah, I wasn't surprised at all. It was a strong case.
Yeah, I'm not surprised, but I also feel that people have to pay attention because the judge is going to be the one to sentence him, and that can be kind of shaky. We seen how they did in Dallas, and that was an open and shut case, but still, she got a slap on the wrist. So, but
Yeah,
how?
one in Dallas. So didn't the jury sentence Geiger?
Um, I I'm not. Let me pull it up and see. Like I tell people all the time, when we on the show, sometimes questions come up, and we have to check it out. But even if
Yeah, I'm pretty sure because I think Geiger at the beginning of the trial, her lawyers motioned that if she was found guilty, she wanted to be sentenced by jury. That's a law that's kind of only happens in Texas, I think.
yeah, I feel like uh, hold on, yeah, it was jury delivered the sentence, and uh, yeah, you are right. She was sentenced by the jury, but even with that judge, he kept getting kind of frustrated with the prosecutor. So, welcome to the show, Robin. Robin, welcome to the show. Said it's a start. I'm not surprised, but I was scared today, anyways. It's a scary sight to decide what's going to happen. And you're right. We never know exactly what's going to take place in a trial like this, but we still need to pay attention to it until they say how much time he's going to get. I'm gonna continue to keep a eye on it because it's a scary thing. Um, I don't know if you can see Robin comment radio, but she said the judge opened the door for his appeal. I don't have a lot of faith in his sentence. I'm praying it's 40 plus years. I'm hoping it's 40. I've always said I hope he get at least 20. At least 20. 40 would be great, but 20 at least. So radio, tell me how you really feel about it. I know you said you're not surprised about it. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and I know a lot of people were saying they didn't think he was gonna get found guilty because of our system that we have, and it's hard to find a police officer guilty of a murder of a black man. They'll get a slap on the wrist or something like that, but to be found on all three counts, that was kind of hard to do. But I'm glad it was all three. So tell me exactly how you feel about it, and if you feel like it was the right call.
Oh, totally. But I think the main difference in this case was the video. If that young girl had to taken that video, um, it would have been the cops' word against the witnesses, and then they probably all the witnesses there they would say, "Oh no, they're all lying." But the video spoke for itself, and that young girl, I have to hand it to her. Like she filmed that whole thing, and she didn't flinch at all, and posted on social media the next day, and that was the key because you see Chauvin's body language in it,
Yeah,
and that defiant, and actually, I think half of why he was doing it was when the people were telling him, "Hey, what are you doing?" I think his ego was just like, "You don't tell me what to do," and I think he just doubled down on it. And it was like, "I'm the cop. I'm the law enforcement professional." This guy, he had this attitude, and you could see it on him. And then the rest of the cops, you see kind of the police culture where they didn't speak up because, oh, well, he's been on the force the longest. So when you see somebody on the force doing something crazy like that, oh, well, we can't say anything. And you never criticize a cop in front of people. So I think it was a powerful video where it showed the culture of the police department, and it showed exactly what happened. And you just look at George Floyd's neck and the angle and the pressure that was put on that man's neck. And it just speaks for itself.
yeah, with what the young lady did, and then also the paramedic that was saying, "Hey, you're killing this guy." Please get off his neck. And it didn't matter to him. And then when the paramedics made it there, they had to ask him to move several times before he got off. So I think that's where it basically came down to, because there've been many videos of unarmed black men killing, and they have actually got off. And even though the evidence was there, look at Fernando Castillo, shot and killed seconds after letting the man know that he's he have his firearm in his console, and he can carry a firearm legally, and gave him his information. And after he looked at it, he shot and killed him. He never reached for it. He didn't care who was in the car. That should have been an open and shut case, for the simple fact, why are you shooting this man? He went the proper way to get his license to carry, and he did everything right. He gave you his license, then you turn around, he let you know the firearm is in the console, and immediately you shoot and kill him. So that
was on video too, that shooting.
Exactly. And it's like it was an open and shut case, but he got off. He got off. Micah said it's only when mosquito land on your balls that you realize there is a way to solve a problem without using violence. Hey, first of all,
that one, that's good.
Yeah, first of all, how mosquitoes gonna get on your balls? I'm just curious. What are you doing where they able to land on it? Robin agreed. What you said, agreed. His ego, and he was intimidating the crowd. Yes. Robin also said, I'm of the belief of all those cops needed to be charged. If a cop sees me murdering someone, they would shoot me. These cops aided and abetted. Now, Robin, I'm not going to agree with that. I'm not going to agree with what you said on the last statement, because if they seen you shooting someone, you have a better chance of seeing your day in court. But if they seen me shooting someone, I'm out of there. I won't have that chance, because look at all the mass shootings that been going on, and these guys be taking the Burger King, the one in North Carolina taking the Burger King, get a meal. The one that shot the state trooper a couple of weeks ago here in Texas, he was taken to jail without an incident. How about the one that actually drugged a state trooper last week after he assaulted an employee at a hardware store with some lumber because he didn't want to wear a mask, and then turned around when the cops pulled them over, he closed the window on the cop arm, drug him going 40 miles per hour. Now, there was a cop behind the truck. He did not shoot him. Then when the officer busted the window, he took his hammer and beat the cop with it, and still he was taken in without a problem. So it's a difference. It's definitely a difference. And I know where you're coming from. Trust me, I do, because you've been following the show quite a bit. But it's a big difference between black and white laws. I hate to keep saying that because it makes myself sound like a racist, but I'm just calling out the facts, because it's a big difference between black and white laws, and it's scary. It's scary for a black man or for a minority person. It's very scary. So, Radio, how much time do you think he would get?
Well, it depends. It's going to be, I heard him give the date today for sentencing, and usually after you're found guilty, it's like a couple of months, and then I guess they have to look at all the mitigating factors for going into the. I think the judge is going to hit him hard.
I hope he do. I hope he do. I hope he do what's right and give him the proper time that he should get, but don't give him a slap on the wrist just because he's a police officer, ex-police officer.
And I also think the head prosecutor did a great job. I thought he was just an outstanding lawyer.
Yeah, all of them did a great job, and not only that, Um, it's going to be interesting because now the appeal process is going to happen. He have a week to provide an appeal, and depends on what it is. They talking about the jury could have seen the news over the weekend. I'm like this over this past year. Who haven't seen the video?
Yeah.
And I think so many people have seen it. So uh, I don't care where you had it at. Welcome to the show, Latanya Holloway. The cops who was only on the job for like 3 weeks should get a lighter sentence. He probably will. He probably will because he only followed what he was instructed to do by his superior officers. So he probably will get a lighter sentence. Um, Unfortunately, it's one of those things. You have to know what's right and what's wrong. You have to identify that. And for being a public server, you have to identify that pretty quick. Because if you don't, it's going to become a problem. Welcome to the show. Anna Johnson came back after last night. Boy, that was a great show last night. If y'all did not see it, y'all need to listen to the replay. Don't forget it is early voting going on, and all over. So it's early voting, so definitely go out and vote. Anna said, tuning in from East Texas, my heart is heavy today. I believe we have a long road of us. I'm unsettled until we hear the sentencing. That's the same thing I said. I have to hear that sentencing. So once I'm able to hear that, then I'll be okay. Because we seen how they did here with Amber Geiger, got a slap on the wrist. The judge gave her a hug and all of that. So, so I feel you on that, and trying to see why this did not come up. Okay, my monitor is moving kind of slow, but that's definitely. I'm hoping the judge do give him the right sentence for it. If he gave him at least 20 years, I'm okay with that. But anything less than that, no. He should get the max. If it's 40 years, he should get 40 years. But 20, I think we could say, okay, and that'll give him a lot of time with Big Bubba. And hopefully he don't get pregnant. So we're having another breaking news. He's pregnant in prison. I don't know how it'll work, but okay. But definitely, he definitely need to go to jail and do his time. Whatever he's sentenced to, he need to do it all. Unlike Amber Geiger, her case is coming up next week, where she's trying to get her case lowered to a lower charge. So we need to pay attention to
really
that.
She changed her mind pretty fast, huh?
Yeah, she did. She did. She definitely did. Robert,
I watched that whole trial. I watched the whole Amber Geiger trial, and when she got up on the stand there, she sealed her own fate, and then she hugged the brother of Botham John, and you kind of thought, okay, well, she's accepting her fate, and then no, actually, I should be out 2 years.
Yeah.
So I hope she doesn't get her appeal at all. She should serve the full sentence.
Well, people have a habit of putting a mask on to try to get their way with doing things. But me personally, I'm like, hey, you do the crime, you do the time. Robin said, I know there is a different set of laws for blacks and white people. Those white mass shooters are alive even after killing cops, while violent, unarmed black men after black men are being executed. You are right, Robin. They definitely execute us in many ways. Latanya also said, I don't know why my monitor is moving so slow. I'm trying out some new things. So Latanya said he'll end up getting 20, but only have to serve 10. But he'll probably go to the upper room before that. Oh, yeah. Now, Tanya, Big Bubba called me and said he's waiting for her. He already took a picture of them posing together with no shirt on. So he called and asked for a care package. He wanted a comb, some Vaseline, and some baby oil or something. So I gotta send it to him. But it, they gonna have a little fun. Like I say, I'm too pretty to go to jail. I can't do it. So yeah, but I'm hoping at least 20. I'm hoping. Well, if he only served 10, that's not good enough. Hopefully, he get the full 40, and he serve at least 20. But at the same time, these other cops that is coming up on trial after them, what you think the outcome would be with that, Radio?
Well, I think they all have to be held. You know, something, it takes a lot of courage to stand up for what you believe in, and if one of them didn't like what they were seeing there, that you should speak up. And a lot of people don't do that, and they just went along with it. So that was a serious thing. They were killing a guy.
Yeah, that's the same thing I told that cop when I was 18. I told that one cop, I said, "Hey, man, when you see your partner doing wrong, you do not have to follow his lead. You can stand up and tell him, hey, this ain't right." And that's what happened that day. Latanya told me, hey, Radio, I don't know if you're looking at your monitor or not, but she did speak to you.
Yep.
So so it's a difference. And a lot of time, if you pay, I know in Dallas, there's a lot of time when Risky sent me a picture. Yeah, okay. See, I told y'all I cannot pay attention to what you and Risky do while I'm live in the middle of talking. She texts me a picture of them in the shower. So, but a lot of time when I know here in Dallas, you don't see, at least I don't. I can only speak for myself. You don't see too many white cops and black cops together like you would back in the days. Now maybe maybe I just haven't seen it. Now they may roll up in separate cars, but for them to be in the same cars, you don't always see that. I don't see it anymore. So uh, so that's a big thing, and that tells you the division within the police. Um, tell you the division within the police department. Um, Robin said, "I'm about to go eat, but I wanted to tune in, sending my love to you all. Have a good night." Hey, Robin, I appreciate it, and I'm glad your son is back in school. Everything is going good with you and your family. Continue to tune in. Talk to you soon. Thank you for always tuning in and supporting. Oh man, I need that pic too, Risky. I'll see if I can post it later on. She probably posted on her page. Um, yeah, but it's definitely something we need to pay attention to. We need to pay attention to it. Not only this trial, but it's going to be other trials that come up by the officers that is going to be held accountable. We need to pay attention to it. And please do not get distracted. Do not get distracted because we still got to pay attention to the terrorist attack that happened January 6th in Washington. So we still need to pay attention to that too. I had a couple of comments coming. Risky said, I was trying to attach it to this page, but couldn't. No, it won't let you send links to it. T-Cal, welcome to the show. Said, I hear you on that, Robert. I too wanted to jump in for a minute since I work tonight. It's been busy, but I got to hear Kirk, dog. Hey, I appreciate it. Thank you for always tuning in and supporting the show. So, Radio, what type of reaction are you getting up in Canada about the trial? Is a lot of people paying attention to it? Have they been watching the trial, or are
Oh
they?
yeah,
Have
yeah.
you?
No, that trial's all over the world. Everybody I know, they've seen the video and they said that was just outright. That was just murder in real time.
Yeah,
Just believe your own eyes. But the one disappointing thing I'm seeing in in the conservative part of America, they're all saying the trial was fake. Now they're saying the jury was tampered with, and it's like, man, like you can't, like politics seems to go into everything. Like this was a murder trial. This wasn't about Republican or Democrat. This was about a guy that did wrong, and you can't even agree on what you're seeing in a video because there's another YouTuber. He's crazy. He's from like Texas, and he's putting out all this stuff that it was all a big conspiracy theory. The jury's been tampered with. Nothing was real. The prosecutors were brought in. They were hired out of state and everything, and they're all fake. And it's just insane. Like you can't even have a trial of law, and let the evidence come out and the facts come out, but politics seeps into it, and it's just it's too bad. Like it's like this division seems to go everywhere.
yeah. And the problem is with that because he's probably making good money with these conspiracy theories and stuff like that. I just cannot sell my soul for stuff like that. I've always been told to be honest and truthful about everything I do. That's why I'm not a good liar. Even when I play poker, someone asks me if I had the best hand, I'm honest with them. Or if they ask me if I have this hand, I will tell them the truth. It's up to them to believe it or not. And then when I beat them, then they be like, well, I thought you was lying. That's one thing I don't do. I don't lie. So, uh,
Yeah.
uh,
Well, I mean, wrong is wrong. Like, so what? Both, this conservatism, conspiracy theory stuff. Like, you can't look at this trial with the facts and the evidence. It's always you got to throw in now. Oh no, it's all fake. And somebody. Well, the way it works is defense got to select jurors too.
yes,
That's part of the jury selection process. So you mean to tell me that somebody overrode the defense's the judge wouldn't let the defense pick which jurors they wanted on? Like, I just wish people would use their own brains a bit more and think for themselves.
exactly.
I've already seen posts going up that, there's going to be all these riots tonight. Like the left is going to go crazy. And it's just crazy. I don't understand this. I don't know why politics isn't everything.
That's the way people want to do it because it's a big money maker. Once you start separating the truth to politics, people love that. People feed off of that, and then they start throwing out these conspiracy theory, which is a problem within itself. For the simple fact, if you're honest, you don't have to remember what you tell a person. That's the way I was brought up. And don't lie. They, as a child, they used to call me Telltale, because uh, they knew if I was with them and mom and them asked me, hey, who did this, who did that? I said what I had to say. I'm like, hey, I'm trying to save my own self. I'm not finna go down because you going down.
Yeah.
But also, Latonya, did anyone notice how unfazed Derek appeared? I did notice that he did have his mask on, but I was the only one at home when the sentence came across, and I could have heard. I heard him poot a little bit when they said arrest, bail revoked. His eyes looked like he got big like this, and his stomach's dropped, and he was like, "Oh Lord, I gotta go in now." So yeah, before then, he didn't think he was going to be found guilty. The look on his face looked like he was saying, "Oh, I'm not going to be found guilty. They're not going to find me guilty." And I was trying to count how many different jurors it was by the voice, and it really sounded like it was uh, a lot of Caucasian folks on the jury. From what I can hear in the voice, I know I haven't seen them, but it kind of sounded like it was a lot of Caucasian on there. A mixed jury with male and female, and everyone voted to find him guilty, which is good. That's the way our justice system should work, and that's always a good thing. But I'm glad he was found guilty. But please do not lose focus. We have to also do wait until the sentencing part. Because I'm telling you, if they come back talking about 2 years, nah, that ain't gonna work. That's not gonna work. Um, Latanya said his brows were furrowed, but nothing more than that. Maybe he got some 420 left. It is 420, so I'm not knocking him, but maybe he said, "Forget it. This is my last time before I go in. I'm gonna do what I have to do." Maybe that's the reason why he was looking unfazed. He wasn't there. He was on Clyde on 9. He was feeling good. So that's
Yeah, the one thing I noticed, like obviously I don't know Derek Chauvin, but he seems just like there's something off about him. You know, we've all known that kind of person, you know, where they're just something not right.
Yeah, seemed like for me, for someone to stand on someone's neck for over 9 minutes, it is something off with him.
Yeah.
It's something definitely off with him, and that's an issue within itself. He probably had
and it was how calm he was too. Like,
yeah.
It wasn't like, you know, maybe if he'd been really frustrated and he was kneeling on his neck, and then somebody said, "Hey, you know, what are you doing?" And then he went, "Oh yeah," and he got off the guy's neck. Like he could, but it was just the calmness and the and just how he was looking at the crowd, and it was like, oh, there's a dark side to this guy, and there's something wrong with him, because, you know, it was just no emotion. That was what I found the most strange about the video. Was he was the one that had no emotion, and he seemed to have no like, there was nothing there. It was just he was doing what he wanted to do, and I don't know. The whole thing was just bizarre.
Exactly. Latanya actually said it was 6 white jurors and the rest mixed, but Minnesota is like 65% white. So that's still a lot, but still half of the jury was white, and they all voted to find him guilty. And I was happy with that. That was a good thing. They found him guilty. I hope he don't. I hope he don't. Derek is going to claim that he has Asperger syndrome during sentence. I hope he don't. I wouldn't be surprised, for the simple fact he's. They may buy into it. They may buy into it and say, "Oh, yeah, that's a good defense. Yeah, we'll say that, and then you can get a lighter sentence. We'll send you to a hospital or something, and let you get some help or something." So
yeah, didn't his wife leave him too?
Oh yeah, she left him right after he done it.
Yeah.
Yeah, he left right after he done it, and I got text messages going off. Okay. All right, I see it. But yeah, so I'm quite sure he will come up with some type of defense, and oh, what? Oh, okay. She talking about just kidding. Talking about she left him for a brother. Just kidding. Be like, hey, you know, Joe, I'm gonna leave that alone. Hey, I wouldn't be surprised. She roll up, but then again, I'm sure now that the trial is over, she probably going to start talking about some of the issues that him and her had, and it's probably all going to come out now. So I wouldn't be surprised she don't write a tell-all book. It probably coming out next week. um, to be honest with you, because I'm sure she been working on it with somebody, and because she
I'm
know.
also surprised too. They never in the trial. They never brought up the fact that Chauvin and George Floyd worked at the same nightclub together.
That's another key fact.
They never brought that up.
That's another key fact. They never brought it up. And then on top of that, someone mentioned to me that that if I don't know if they say George was under the influence, but someone allegedly said that if he wasn't under the influence, he probably would have called them by his name. Probably would have called Derek by his name. I wouldn't be surprised of it. So, or if he, let's just say if his knee wasn't up under his neck, he probably would have called him by his name. And that's the way I see it. Derek is wrong. He deserved whatever he get, but it should be the right thing. They should charge him. He been convicted. He should get the time. Gotta go play poker now later. All right, that's Miss Latanya Holloway, aka Whiskey. See you on Thursday night. And so yeah, so it's definitely definitely a lot that's going to come out of this in the retrial. And when it's retrial, it's kind of it's going to be kind of hard to retrial somebody, because the thing is, who don't know about the case now?
Yeah.
It's going to be hard to find somebody who don't know anything about it. And
well, I'm sure his lawyer is going to appeal no matter what. That's just every lawyer does that. But, you know, he's ethically bound to give Chauvin all his legal choices. But even if it does go to appeal, it'll be a couple of years from now before that even hits the appellate court. But you know, it's unfortunately the law moves very slowly, right? So you have to be patient.
Yeah, but I'm glad they did find him guilty, but I want to see what type of time they talking about, because that's going to be the main key. How much time are they talking about? Because they can find him guilty, but then give him probation or whatever the judge feel like is better for him. And I'm like this: let this man go to jail, just like he was sentenced anyone else. Let him go to jail, do his time, and go with it like that.
Yeah, each of those charges that he was convicted on each carry a different maximum sentence. So I think the first one's something like the maximum is 45 years. The second one is 20 years, and the manslaughter one is 10 years. So, and here's the other thing too. Like, if they make them that they run concurrent, if he does appeal, if they're all running concurrently, which means he serves them all at the same time, then he can only appeal like one of the charges. You can't appeal all three. Or if you put it consecutively, then you can appeal all three charges. Apparently that's the way some judges will actually give somebody, if it's multiple charges, they'll make the sentences run concurrently. So that kind of makes their appeal, if they appeal one and win, they're still going to serve the sentences of the other charges.
Okay. So that's great. T-Cal said, well, I've been listening while I've been shuffling down my dinner. Have a good night, Kurt Dog, by radio. All right, T-Cal, you be careful. I know you're working. And definitely tune in, watch the replay. So definitely that will be kind of interesting, exactly how this judge ruled. And like we said earlier, it's going to be at least a couple of months before we get a sentence, and hopefully it's not a retrial. Hopefully they don't find enough evidence to find a retrial, because they wanted a mistrial because of what people said in the media. Um, Maxine Water, they talked about her comment. Well, that's the truth. He should be found guilty. He murdered this man. What do that have to do with the evidence? Have nothing to do with the evidence. So they tried to use those type of things to um, try to get the trial dismissed altogether. Which you don't
And
want to.
also, too, I think he can't file an appeal until after sentencing. He has 30 days after sentencing to file an appeal. So there's no mistrial can be granted right now because the trial's over. The judge, the jury rendered their verdict. So when he files for appeal, it's going to take at least a couple of years.
Okay.
Because of the backlog of cases and things. So it'll be a while. Like even if he does get an appeal hearing, it'll be a couple of years from now.
Well, by that time, Big Bubba been on had about time for a new cellmate. By that time.
Well, I guess right now he'll be held in the county jail because you don't go to prison until after your sentence. So yeah, I'm imagining they'll put him under protective custody because I don't think cops do too well in jail in the general population.
Mess around and see somebody you know put in there illegal, and it's a wrap. But I'm like this, the guy, I'm glad he's being held accountable, but we also need the proper sentence to go along with it.
Well, one thing too, he's not going to be kneeling on anybody's neck in prison.
Hopefully he won't, because if he try to do it in there, it'll be a breaking news, and it won't be good. So we will see how that go, but hopefully he goes in there and do what he's supposed to do his time, lift weights, read books, whatever you got to do. But yeah, if you go in there and acting a fool, that's between him and the jailmates, because they're gonna make sure he keep his things going the right way. And also, radio. I don't know if you heard me last week when you called in. I said, hey. I'm gonna have to send you a link if you want. Send you a link and have you actually come on the show where people can see you if you want to do it. And yeah,
I don't have a camera on my computer, but I got like the headset thing. I don't know if it works though. I've never done any like what do you call it, YouTube stuff over the internet.
Okay, well, it's an offer. So if you ever decide to do it, let me know. And you are always welcome because you always keep me on my P's and Q's if I do a story like where you get the sources from. I want to make sure, and then just like earlier, you corrected me on that MacGyver case, and I pulled it up, said, "Yep, you're absolutely right." So, and it's okay with that.
Yeah, I've been following a lot of cases in the States just because. I find like the divide in the culture when it comes to, some of these cases. Like the Amber Geiger one really got me was because the people that supported Amber Geiger, all they seemed to care about was, well, if she gets convicted, this will be the end of the Castle Doctrine. and I can remember sitting there going, okay, so an innocent guy was killed in his own home doing, eating ice cream. And you're worried that if this woman gets convicted, then you can't shoot somebody because of the Castle Doctrine. And that's what sort of got my interest in. So that's why I followed the case. And it was just weird to hear people going, oh, yeah, well, this will be the end of the Castle Doctrine if they convict Amber Geiger. And I'm sitting there going, where are you getting that from?
Well, the thing is, if you illegally kill someone, yeah, that's kind of like in Kentucky. There's no way they should have killed my mind went blank. The young lady in Kentucky, they never should have killed her, and that's just one of those things where those cops should have been held accountable. But also, when you have um, the DA doing the wrong thing and not even having it on the at the grand jury that they can charge them for this, and that wasn't an option. So that's a problem within itself also. So we got to have the
Yeah,
right.
grand juries are secret proceedings, and so nobody in the general public can see what happens in the grand jury either, right? So
Yeah,
it's one of those things you can only speculate about what goes on at a grand jury, but it's different here in Canada because we're not allowed to carry firearms here. So there's not this debate all the time of like, well, I shot this guy because I was in fear for my life. You just don't see that up here because you just can't walk around with a firearm here. So for me, it's just interesting how different it is in the U.S. when it comes to this. And then when you see the case by cases come up, and you know, for the record, I think anybody has a right to defend themselves.
yeah,
You know, I would never say that, you know, oh, well, you know, wrong place, wrong time. I just go ahead and kill me. No, everybody absolutely has a right to defend themselves. But I just find the argument so funny, like when it comes to where somebody did something wrong and then other people, they just want to support the person that did the wrong thing. And then they come up with all these crazy things of, oh, well, this will be the end of this, or, you know, that'll take my rights away for defending myself. That's not it at all. Like, you know, people do bad things and they have to be held to, you know, accountable under the law. You know, if you shoot and kill somebody and under the law doesn't allow that, well, then you're probably going to jail.
exactly. And I was thinking about Breonna Taylor. My mind just went crazy at the time. I'm trying to do multiple things at the time, but yeah, Breonna Taylor, it should have been justice for that trial. And I know that there's some other lawsuits that is pending. Uh, Her fiance have actually sued the police officer in the city for her death. Yes, the family was awarded. Um, they did win one lawsuit, but that don't bring her back. Justice still need to be served, and no cops still need to be held accountable for their action. It's so many different cases when unarmed black people been killed for nothing, but then you have these mass shootings that take place and nothing happened. They go to Burger King.
Well, they
Or
always say now it's not the right time to discuss any kind of gun control, like it's just thoughts and prayers. Well, you're going to have to look at something like it's happening every other day.
exactly, it is. It's happening every other day because it was another mass shooting today in New York, and that was done by a black man. I don't know if he was killed or not, but I know at least one person was
Yeah, it was a supermarket.
yeah, a supermarket. One person was killed, two was injured. Last week, I think it was Saturday. I know Sunday in Austin. There was a mass shooting in Austin, Texas,
Yeah.
and that was done by ex sheriff uh, officer that was here in Texas, a black man, and I think it was three people killed in that one. And then
Wow.
we had a shooting a couple of days before that in Temple, Texas, where the mass shooting, that's when he shot the state trooper running away, and he was taken unarmed. Now the brother that did the shooting in Austin last week, they did catch him. I think it was either yesterday or the day before, and he was taken into custody. They did catch up with him, which that's good. So and I don't care what color you are, wrong is wrong. You do the crime, you do the time. I don't care.
Yeah.
Welcome to the show, Lift Every Voice. And Lift Every Voice, I just heard that song about 4 or 5 times before coming on because Kirk Franklin had remixed that song, and it's great. So they actually said Fox News and Trump supporters are furious about that verdict. Shaking my head. Wow. a lot of people going to be upset no matter what the truth say in front of you. They will be upset. It doesn't matter what it is. People are going to get upset instead of looking at the facts and the truth. And that's what people have to start looking at. Because if people paid attention to the truth, we wouldn't have these conspiracy theory going on.
No, it's like I said before. Why is politics and everything? Like, why is it like politics shouldn't be involved in this? This is a trial for murder. It's not a trial about politics.
True. And I know President Biden said he prayed for justice to be done this morning, and people gonna say he was wrong for that. But anybody in their right sense, I understand he's the president, but anybody in their right mind that know what happened was wrong, all of us should be praying for it, because that was murder that was seen across this world, and they need to be held accountable. Because if they didn't hold him accountable, what would happen next time when it happened?
Yeah, I guess there's just people, in the conservative world, it seems to be the police can do no wrong. That's law and order, and you don't question it. Well, you know what? Life, it doesn't work that way. Every institution can be questioned if it's doing wrong.
Exactly.
There's nothing wrong with that.
There's nothing wrong with it at all. Justice should be the same across the board, regardless of who you are, what color you are, what party you're part of. It doesn't matter. Justice is justice. But unfortunately, America have a problem when it comes down to justice. It's two types of justice. It's a justice for white folks, and it's a justice for black folks. And that's what we need to change.
Last week, I was listening to a Sam Harris podcast, and they were talking about like better training for the police. And one of the sons of the Gracie family, he's the jiu-jitsu family from Brazil.
Uh-huh.
Well, they're legends in jiu-jitsu, which is a martial art, which is grappling on the ground. And his son was talking about, like, he trained police officers in one agency, like people in the academy. He gave them, like, jiu-jitsu training. And he was saying when those cops went out to do their jobs, now they had more tools to work with. So when somebody was resisting arrest or whatever, with jiu-jitsu, you can be smaller than somebody, and you're using leverage and angles to get control of them. And he said these cops were way more confident. They weren't going for their tasers. They weren't going for their guns when, things would get out of hand. And then the most surprising fact, he said, was that it takes more hours to become a barber than it does to become a policeman through the police academy.
That is true.
Wow.
That is true. Here for a barber, I want to say it could take you a couple of years to become a barber. My brother is one, and I think he was in school for at least a couple of years, a pretty long time to become a barber. And the exam they have to take is a nightmare. And see, when you become a beautician or a barber, you have to know how to cut all texture of hair. You don't just go in and learn one texture. Unfortunately, with the police department, they go in and learn how to deal with one particular type of person, and not necessarily every different type of person you may approach. So it's really take you longer to become a barber to get your license than it do to become a police officer. And
that's insane. Like, how can you like train? You know what it is too? I think it's more training is more money, and they don't want to spend more money. They want to. I don't know. Like that's insane to me. Like 2 months, 3 months, and then you can become a police officer.
I think it's maybe the first 6 months. I'm not quite sure. And if it's a police officer listening, please put it in the chat. Let us know. But I kind of think it's the first 3 months is basic training. Then the next 3 months You may be with a officer, learning the basic or something, and then you could be uh, a police officer on the street by yourself. I think within a year,
Wow.
um, which is pretty quick. That's that microwave mentality. That's what I call a microwave mentality because here in America we have this mentality. We want everything quick and not properly done the way it should be. But then again, we also have to realize the police department was basically formed to round up runaway slaves. So we got to look at it like that, and they're still holding on to that and still treating it as if black folks are slaves, and they want to keep us bound down. So that's what we have to break from, and we have to change the society. That's why it's very important that we get out and vote. We get out and vote to make sure we let our voice be heard to actually make a difference in our laws. Because here it is right now today, we're in the middle of an election where the early voting have started. It started yesterday, and the election is May 1st. Well, what'll happen, a lot of people they'll get tied up, forget about early voting. Then when May 1st comes, oh, I didn't have time to go vote. Don't wait until May 1st. Get out and vote early. We've had three different candidates on here, two from the city of Grand Prairie and one from Longview. I've been replaying the shows, so definitely check them out. If you're in the city of Grand Prairie or in the city of Longview, check them out. Kurt Johnson and Junior Izuno out of Grand Prairie running for two different places. Grand Prairie don't have any black people on their city council, so we need to change that. If you heard Marisa Ward last night, whew, yeah, she said a lot of things last night, and she was on point. So you definitely want to, if you're in Longview, Grades County, Texas, you definitely want to support her because she's all about making changes in Longview, not just for the Black community, but for all community. That's what all three candidates have said. They represent all of us. So definitely do your homework on them and make sure you're getting out and voting and letting your voice be heard. So, but radio, quick question because we haven't talked much in a while because I took the time off last month. Um, I was moving the studio, so I didn't get a chance to come on. I thought I could do the show and do that too at the same time. And the last couple of months been tough for me. Have Canada opened things back up in the dealing with the COVID?
It's opened up pretty much to the point where like you got to wear a mask everywhere if you're in a public place, which is fine. And to be honest, everybody here seems to comply with that. We have a very small minority of people that are doing the anti-mask thing and the conspiracy theories, but up here they just get tossed out with the bathwater. Nobody listens to them. Like really. So restaurants are still some. Obviously you can't have too many people in your restaurant. The bars, obviously no live music going on, but everything's like. I think they've learned a lot in the last year, and I think they've learned like a complete lockdown just kills the economy, and it's probably not going to stop the spread of this. So now everybody's wearing masks, and they're all keeping the 6 feet apart. So it's still spiking here because we haven't. It's been late getting the vaccines here, so it's been a very slow process getting vaccines to people. But everybody kind of trusts. See, we don't have our politicians like Trump did disagreeing with our scientists. Like they're all on the same page here. And when people see that, they're more apt to go along with the restrictions and go along with what they have. And it's not bad. Like, I mean, I can go out and do what I have to do, and it's no big deal. I just got to wear a mask while I'm doing it.
Okay. Here, of course, Greg Abbott and several other states have opened back up, and some states have actually had spikes to go on. And unfortunately, I think we're going to continue having that issues with, uh, and some places still try to enforce people wearing a mask. Um, I had to go by a hardware store yesterday. I'm not gonna give the name lest they're gonna sponsor us. But had to go by a hardware store, and this guy walking down this aisle, no mask on, and started coughing. So I just politely turned around and like, I wish I had my Lysol. I would have started spraying it, but and it was a black guy. I'm like, hey, I just turned around, and when people do stuff like that, I just get out the way because I'm doing everything I can to keep myself and my family safe. And
Yeah.
I normally wear two masks when I go out, and some people look at me crazy. I'm like, look, I'm not taking no chance. I'm not taking a chance at all. Um, but I noticed that a lot of people going back on trips again, and I just act like everything is free. That's up to you. But when you start putting on social media, please pray for me. I got COVID. Hey, you gotta protect
Well,
yourself.
unfortunately, too, politics got into the pandemic in the U.S. heavily, and I don't know if you saw it last week that idiot Jim Jordan, the Freedom Caucus guy, attacking Dr. Fauci at one of those hearings, and he just made an absolute fool out of himself, and he was just spewing all this crap about like, well, when can we expect our freedoms back? And of course, Fauci's he's an epidemiologist, or he's an expert in this field, and he's just sitting there and he goes, "This isn't about freedoms. This is about like a public health crisis."
Mm.
And that we don't have up here. We don't have politicians doing that up here. Like, we don't have one opposing party going, "Oh, this is all this is the end of freedom as we know it." Like, everybody here is pretty much on the same page. Like I said, we have people that you're going to have people that won't go along with stuff no matter what. But on the average, everybody's doing what they have to do. But I think if the Trump administration hadn't have been in power when this started, I think he probably would have had a more cohesive kind of effort of people, kind of going, listening to the experts a bit more. But unfortunately, politics is involved in that too.
Yeah. And also Ted Nugent, who called COVID-19 a scam. Yeah. Said he'd been crippled by the virus. And so said he'd been crippled by it. And I'm like, he called it a scam. So, but now he tested positive. Let me know how that worked out for him. Said he thought he was dying from the virus. See, people starting to realize this is not fake. You follow Trump if you want to, and find out when it's too late. It's too late. So that's
Ted Nugent is a very obviously he's a musician I'm very familiar with, but man, I don't know if I could handle that guy in real life, man. I don't know if I could handle that dude. And here's the funny part. He doesn't drink and he doesn't do drugs. He leads a clean life, and he's like this normally. That really kind of crazy like his political views, I don't agree with them at all. Like, not at all. But yeah, he's definitely a character.
Well, I'm like this. Everybody have their own opinion. It's your opinion. That's fine. Long as you're not trying to force your opinion on me, I have no problem with you. That's just like Anything else, I have a mind for myself. I'm gonna think for myself, and I'm gonna just keep it rolling. But some people will try to force it on you, and I'm just not like that.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
so
with the Republican Party, what they're doing is, and this is dangerous because this is what authoritarian governments do. They always govern by fear. Oh, this is going to happen. And if this happens and we're not in power, then everything's going to go, bottoms up. Like Ted Cruz, every time he talks, he always talks about the left is going to take everybody's religious freedoms away. And that gets people riled up. And it's a dangerous thing to be doing, like constantly, like just putting fear out there in people and saying your freedom's going to go, or if you wear a mask, that'll be the end. You'll be wearing a mask for the rest of your life. The government will just, and that's not a way to govern people, and it's not, and it's a dangerous thing because when you get people riled up and they believe in something and they think like everything is going to go wrong all the time, you can't have the society starts to break down because that's not nobody can live that way.
true, living in fear. You can't live in
Yeah.
fear and believe in Christ at the same time. Something got to go, and hopefully you don't get rid of Christ because we all need Him. So, but some people they will try to make you scared of what's going on in the world. I know people close to me that would say certain things during the election, and they was like, "Oh, this, that, and whatever." I'm like, "Where's the proof of it?"
Yeah. And for the record too, like I mean, when Ted Cruz does this stuff, it's like, well, a lot of people who vote Democrat are people of faith. So I don't know where he's getting. Like he's making it out like, oh no, like everybody on the left, or they want to take everybody's religious freedoms away. I haven't seen any evidence for that ever.
How can you take somebody religion away from them? Because some people think church is the church is only the building. The church is actually inside of you. So
Yeah.
how can you take it away? You have to allow someone to convince you that it's not right. And I'm not that weak. I'm not a weak person to allow someone to think they can convince me that Christ is not the right way to be. Um, so yeah, that's interesting on all of that. But it's a lot of
Well,
people
when you
out there
think
that
about it, when Ted Cruz is doing that, the terrorist organizations like Al Qaeda and ISIS and all that, when they're recruiting people, they use the same thing. It's like, oh, there's an attack on Islam, and they're gonna. This is why we have to band together. They're using the same thing. It's fear, and that's how they draw people into it. I'm not saying that Ted Cruz is like as bad as that, but he's using the same tactic because when it comes to religion, it's a very personal thing to people. And unfortunately, if you're dumb enough, to listen to this guy and believe everything that comes out of his mouth is true, then of course you're going to get riled up. You're going to think like the world is coming to an end, and that's what he wants you to believe.
true.
But if you stick with him, then everything will be great because he's the one with all the answers.
That's kind of like the young lady that was following uh, these conspiracy groups on social media, and she felt like on January 6th, uh, the Chinese was going to take over America.
Yeah, absolutely
Like
ridiculous.
people was going to die. We was going to lose our lives. And then after January 6th came, she like, wait a minute. Everything they've been telling me was not true. That's why you
Yeah.
have to think for yourself. I say all the time, people are brainwashed. They get brainwashed because people are telling them exactly what you want to hear, and that's the issue. Welcome to the show, Marcella Smith. They must have you working hard tonight. Hey guys and girls, either way the verdict went, I wasn't going to be surprised. I feel you on that. I'm not surprised, but I'm also concerned about the sentence because the sentence is what I really want to see. is make sure he do get the proper sentence and everything. So, but we have to wait and see on that part of it. So, but definitely, Marcella's. I know you said you're working two jobs trying to get it in, so I feel you on that, man. Trying to do what you can to make and stack that bag up. So, um, yeah, but it's definitely it's several trials we have to watch because I believe isn't your BFF getting ready to go to trial soon? Cal Rittenhouse. Um,
Yeah, that one's not till November now, man. That got extended for like what, 8 months?
oh wow, they trying to make people forget about him hanging at the bars and drinking and have uh, the low shirt on he had on and holding up the gang signs and they trying to let
Well,
people forget
the one
about
thing
that.
too is like I'm surprised he didn't get charged with impersonating a first responder.
Wait a minute, when he do that?
Because in the video, when he was talking to that journalist, he said he was an EMT,
Oh wow.
and so then later in the interview, the journalist asked him, he goes, "Well, are you a certified EMT?" And he said, "Yes." And I looked it up. You cannot become a certified EMT in any state until the age of 18. So he was lying about that. And I guess maybe in Wisconsin, that's maybe impersonating a first responder is not against the law. I don't know, but I'm surprised they didn't charge him with that because he says it on tape.
Oh, okay. But yeah, he should have been charged impersonating a first responder, which is crazy. Um, so that's um, I'm sorry, have somebody doing some work and they telling me they just left. So yeah, so that's actually crazy for him to say that. I need to go back and look at that video for the simple fact that if he's doing stuff like that, he definitely need to um, be held accountable because you can't do stuff like that. Just
But
like
also, too, in that same interview, and he makes this statement, I think this will come back to haunt him during the trial when he said, "Well, I'm here and I'll be running into harm's way to help people. So that's why I have my firearm with me." Well, what he's saying is, I know I'm in a dangerous place here and I'm going to get involved. That's what he's saying by that statement. And I think that could be a big thing that comes back to haunt him in the case because he's admitting that he knows he's in an environment that's dangerous. And he's also admitting that he's going to get involved.
hmm, yeah,
So
that's gonna bite him. That's gonna bite him.
I have to admit, I can't stand that kid. That is like anybody that would take a firearm and go, "Yeah, I'm going to go to a riot," I think is an idiot. And that goes for anybody. Can you imagine like a guy, his wife asks him, "Oh, what are you up to tonight?" "Oh, I'm going to take my AR-15. I'm going downtown to where the riot is tonight." Like,
Yes.
well, who in their right mind would do that? That is just, it's crazy.
Only a sick individual would do it.
Well, it doesn't make any sense. So you're going to go down and you're going to get involved in a chaotic situation that you have no training to handle. You know, just because you go out and shoot at targets on the weekends with your buddies, and you're going to take a firearm to a situation where anything can happen. And then, if you kill people, you don't want to be held accountable. And then all the they justify saying, "Well, I had a split-second decision to make." Well, yeah, you went into a situation you don't know how to handle. You're not trained to handle. That's the part I don't get. Why would somebody take a firearm and knowingly go into a situation that violence can break out at any time? I don't understand that.
Well, also when it happened, he said he was hired by this service station to protect it. So all of that's going to come out in trial, and either he's was lined in or that service station going to be held accountable. Then the fact that those cops also praised them and thanked them for being there and giving them water, and it was past curfew.
Yeah. Well, and here's the hypocrisy of it. You see the police shootings, right? And they go, oh, well, I thought he had a gun. But yet you can have a group of people show up and go, oh, hi, we're all here to support you. And you don't know any of these people, and they're all armed. And you go, oh, yeah, that's great. Thanks a lot. Thanks for supporting it. Like, that makes no sense to me.
And then on top of that, that police chief also mentioned that they would not give them permission to do it, but someone did contact them and ask if they can have permission to patrol the streets. And the chief said they wouldn't give them permission. But I think somebody did give them permission, because for those other cops to see them, give them water, thanking them for being there, it's just something wrong with that whole situation right there.
And I read last week there's been cops who've been donating to his legal fund.
I'm not surprised.
Well,
I'm not surprised at all. We seen how Silver Spoon Star ended up donating a lot of money to get him out of jail. Which
I don't know. Well, I guess, see, up here, if we had a protest up here and you showed up with a long gun, there'd be like the emergency response team, and about 50 cop cars would be there in like 2 minutes, because everybody'd be freaking out, because you're not used to seeing that here. You can't do that. You can't walk around with a long gun on you.
And I think I personally feel that some people get these guns just to show they have them. Matter of fact, I read a story today. I forgot what city it was in. I think it was here in Texas. Um, a guy ended up shooting this little his neighbor, a child, because his gun accidentally went off an AR-15, and it shot through the floor. And I want to say it shot the child in the leg or something. So, but here it is. People are getting these type of weapons and don't know anything about them. If I ever decided to get one, I'm gonna do training, learn about this gun before I ever purchase this gun. So I don't want something that I'm afraid to even deal with, because a lot of people get them, just to say I have an AR-15. But what happened when you accidentally shoot somebody because you had his gun? And that guy's actually in jail now. So
well, here's the other thing too. Say you go into a restaurant, you're sitting in a restaurant, and you decide, I'm gonna unload my pistol, and you take out your pistol, and it accidentally discharges, and you shoot another guy, and say he's a big Second Amendment supporter. Do you think he's going to be lying up in that hospital, and he's going to go, oh yeah, no, I don't want to press any charges because he was just exercising the Second Amendment, right? No, he'd probably be not too happy. Usually when people get shot, they're not too happy about it.
Exactly. And actually, if someone else carrying a gun and they decide to take it off and just display it, they can be charged with that. So and there are some,
but a lot of people, I read the comments, and a lot of these gun owners, like, they don't even read the laws of their own state. Like, they just they make up their own. Like, they go, well, that law is no good. No, that doesn't apply here. And I don't understand it. If you're going to carry a gun, wouldn't you want to know what the laws of your state are?
You better know them. And that's all I can say in Texas. You better know them, because if you mess around and go somewhere and they have a sign up saying it's illegal to carry a concealed weapon or a open carry firearm, you better not take it in there, because if you get caught with it, well, guess what? You could possibly lose your license, and you can also get a fine and jail time. So you better know the laws. And it's a shaky thing. I know for me, Um, I pay attention to stuff like that, and some people say, well, if they don't have it posted, but if someone come to you and realize you have a firearm, they can ask you to leave that establishment. That's
Yep.
good enough, and you have to leave. So, uh, so a lot of people think, oh, I got this gun, I'm okay. Now in Texas, they also was trying to pass the law to make it anybody can carry a firearm, which I
Yeah, I
think,
heard that. You don't need a permit anymore.
well, if I'm not mistaken, it didn't pass. It did not pass, which I'm glad it
Oh, okay.
didn't. But that's one of the stupid laws I can ever see, especially in a time like this where crime is on a rise. It's crazy. Every time you cut the news on, you're hearing about some type of shooting or anything here in Texas. So, and I'm like, really? All these shooting going on, it's hard for me to watch the news now because there's so many shooting going on.
Mm.
I'm like, this is crazy. So yeah,
Well,
it's
I guess some people, like, I shot a gun when I was like 12 years old, and it was just a 22 or whatever, but I was very aware that this is a real firearm. This is not a toy. And I fired and it was okay, but I wasn't like, wow, this is the best thing. I want to become a gun owner. And I understand some people, they like going and shooting at targets or hunting. But, some of them seem to be like, they haven't lost that childhood fascination, like when they played cops and robbers as a kid, and they're taking that mentality to real guns.
yes. Yeah,
Like they think they could be a hero, like George Zimmerman. Like he thought, he was going to be the hero of his neighborhood because the cops weren't doing their job properly. So George Zimmerman had to, step up, and look what he did. Just
George
classic
Zimmerman
case
to the
of an
rescue.
idiot.
Exactly. And then on top of that, you see, I was talking on our family call, and one of my cousins mentioned, he said, can y'all remember back in the 70s and 80s, we could go to people's house, grandparents' house, uncle, aunties, or whoever, and there was always a shotgun or some type of weapon out in the opening. But we never had been told, don't touch it. Never
Yeah,
been told not to touch it, but we had enough sense not to go near it. And they would
yeah,
just sit out there. See, back in the 70s, um, they used to actually hang guns up on the walls like it was pictures.
wow,
So if somebody came into their home and you had his gun up there, you got to the gun before they did. Loaded guns. So,
oh jeez,
but back then we didn't have that issues with all the gun crimes. As time changed, you have to eventually make the laws a little bit harder. You have to make it harder because it's
Well,
too.
there's a lot of money in firearms, and let's face it, the AR. Like I know AR stands for Armalite Rifle Company. Like it doesn't stand for assault rifle, but it looks like a military weapon, and I think people like that, you know, and they're drawn to that, and they make a lot of sales, and you can customize it. So there's a lot of money involved here, and of course, the people that manufacture the guns, they don't want to give up. If you actually do background checks on people, well, then some people aren't going to be able to buy those firearms, and they don't want that. They want to sell as many guns as they can. So again,
Exactly.
if there was no money in firearms, there'd be no problem like having gun control because nobody's making money off it.
True. Yeah, if you can't make the money, it'll be like, oh well. But that's a big business right now. Because think about it, every election, gun sales go up, ammunition sales go up. It's a domino effect. Every election is like that. As presidential election, it's like
Yeah.
that. People start to stock up, and I still think right now today it's hard to find ammunition for certain guns. If companies have them, they have a limitation on how many you can buy. When you go to certain stores, they'll have a sign on the door, only 2 boxes of ammunition at a time. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, one of my cousins was saying that he reached out to a gun shop not far from him and asked if they had ammunition. He told them, "No, we're out right now." So my cousin, kind of like me, he called back, changed his voice, and sounded like a good old boy. And he was like, "Yeah, we got a whole bunch of them down here. Come on down."
Oh
But
well.
that's the stuff we have to deal with because we have different shops that would only provide ammunition to certain people, and that's wrong. But he said
Well,
he
we'll see up here. If you want to buy ammunition up here, you have to be a licensed gun owner. They won't even take the ammunition out of the display case. If you walk up and say, "I just want to buy some ammunition," you have to show them your firearms license here.
oh wow.
Yeah.
See, Canada got it going on. So
Well, actually, our gun laws, you could compare it to Massachusetts. Our gun laws are pretty much on the same par as Massachusetts is. Like you can hunt, you can own pistols and rifles, but you can only use them at a gun range.
mm, well, I need to go
Yeah.
back to the gun range. It's been a while since I've been, I guess since the pandemic. So I definitely need to go back and maybe me and the fellas can go or something. Me and my crew get together and
Yeah,
go to
some
one.
states you can have a gun range in your backyard.
Well, it'll have to be big enough. It'll have to be big enough. Here in Texas, you just can't go out in your backyard and shoot unless you're in a country with a lot of land. That's the only way you can do it. But yeah, so that's everybody's different when it comes down to guns. I'm like this: if you're gonna carry a gun, be responsible for it. You got to realize you pull that trigger, that bullet leave out, you can't control it, and it's gonna hit something before it stops. So that's the way I look at it. And one other question, Radio, before I let you go.
Yep.
Um, are you going to be going back on a cruise line anytime soon, or being able to play music soon?
No, I gave up the cruise lines. Oh man, about like 7 years ago.
Okay,
The lifestyle in there is it's hard to share a cabin with somebody,
that you don't know.
especially when you're an adult. And it's these cabins are very small for the crew. But yeah, it just got too much. Like I was running my own band, and guys would like probably do a couple of contracts, and I would have to replace them. And I was always like hiring people, and that's what I told you. Like I ended up having to hire that guy from Texas and things like that. And you don't know the personalities you're getting, and you're going to be living with them for like 4 to 5 months at a time. So it just got to be too much of a grind. And also to go on the cruise ship, you have to get a medical done, which the cruise company would pay for, and it was like $500. Well, all of a sudden they decided they weren't going to pay for the medical anymore, but you had to have the medical in order to get on the ship. And I just said to my agent, I said, "Well, I'm not putting any more bands together. I can't hire people and say, oh, by the way, to start work, you got to give me $500."
Exactly.
That doesn't attract people. So basically I just stopped doing that.
Yeah, I don't blame you on that. And um, I hope we get this pandemic under control where we can actually get back to our freedom. But um, right now, it's up in the air. Have um, have you already taken the vaccine, or y'all? I know you mentioned y'all are kind of getting it late. Did they
It's
have?
been a real slow rollout here of the vaccine, and I'll probably not till the end of the summer for me.
Okay. Well, they have it
Because I'm
open.
not in a high risk category. I'm not living in an old age home, or I don't have the underlying condition things. But that's fine. I'll wait. Like, I mean, you got to give it to the people who are most susceptible first, right?
Yeah, yeah. So it's. I know for me, I'm actually um, because of some issues I've gone through. One of my doctors saying yes, you can take it. The other one saying no, wait until you talk with the infection disease doctor before you take it because we don't want
Yeah.
any uh-ohs, and I don't want no uh-ohs.
Yeah,
So
you don't need that right now.
exactly. So but my wife, she's actually going to take her first shot this week, and so that'll be good. And then because I told her, I said, look, go ahead and take it. At least half of us will be protected. So definitely, uh, so definitely go ahead and take it. Radio Risky is a trip. She sending me text talking about when Derek Chavez was sitting there, he was calculating those years in his head, and you could see it through his eyes. like yeah, how many years I'm gonna have to deal with this? But I'm like, boy, I cannot deal with you and her when I'm in the middle of talking. But man, it's always good to talk to you. For the
Yeah,
ones
it's good
that's
talking to you.
for the ones just tuning in, you have been listening and speaking with Who You With Kurt Doe. We are live Sunday through Thursday, 8 p.m. Central Time. And you can catch Miss Risky and I on the show on Thursday. She always brings good history, good conversation. So definitely tune in. You've been listening to Kurt Doe with a surprise guest tonight, Radio Chaos, who is out of Canada, long time listener that is coming in, and we
Ted
just
Cruz country.
yeah, where Ted Cruz is originally from. Don't get it twisted because Ted Cruz is not. He was not born in America. He was born in Canada.
Hey, even Canada, we make mistakes up here. I'm sorry about Ted Cruz.
Yeah. We're gonna send him back. Soon as we vote him out of office, we're sending him back. We're gonna be like, look, Ted, you need to go. Maybe he's gonna come up there and run for office.
Oh no, he wouldn't survive up here.
Nah, they'd be like, Ted, who? He probably start using his real name. You'd be like,
well, they probably just come to the mic and say, look, looks like somebody wandered in off the street here that has some issues. We've taken care of it. We've taken them to a nice quiet space.
yeah, but also, please, no matter where you are in America, there's elections going on now, local elections. So definitely get out and vote. Like I said, if you in Longview, definitely support Marisa Ward. She gave her information out last night where you could contact her. If you're in the city of Grand Prairie, regardless if you're in Tarrant County, Ellis County, Dallas County, if you're in the city of Grand Prairie, you can vote. And we have two brothers that is voting, that is running for two different places. We have Kirk Johnson that is running for one place, and also Junior Ezino running for the other place. So you can definitely vote for them. Do your homework. Let's make a difference. Get out and vote. Radio, I appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for all the support. And you know what? I was thinking today, as I said, you know what? I'm gonna get a chef behind me where I can put your gift up behind me whenever I think about it. I just tickle them and make them do that bobblehead a little bit. So I wish it made a flushing sound. That Trump toilet Texan. so so I'm gonna work on that, get it set up behind me, and but you can actually.
Well, it was funny because when I sent it to you, I had to go to the post office, and I hadn't filled out any customs form or anything, and so the lady behind the counter, she's filling out the customs form, and she goes, "Well, what's in the package?" And I said, "It's Donald Trump sitting on a toilet tweeting." And she just started laughing, and everybody else standing behind me in line, they're going, "You're sending what?" And I go, "Oh, it's a Donald Trump bobblehead sitting on a toilet tweeting." And they're going, "Where did you get that from?" And I'm going, "Oh, I found it at a flea market thing here." And that just, and the woman behind the counter said, "I made her day."
Should have told him. And you can see it live on Speak on It with Who You With Kurt Dog. But
it was just a disbelief, because I when she asked me what was in it, I just told her, and she just took a step back and she's going, "What?"
She probably thought you were playing. Should have. Well, if you had already had it sealed, should have opened it up. Say, see.
Well, she thought that was the best thing ever. She asked me where I got it because she wanted to get one. So
I believe I actually seen on the box. They say they on Instagram, and so I keep saying I'm gonna pull it up. I haven't had a chance to do it yet, but they say they are on Instagram, and I forgot.
yeah, you should keep it. You never know. That might become a collector's item in like 20 or 30 years or something. You own an original toilet Donald Trump bobblehead.
I can see in about 20 years a young kid coming up talking about what is that he's holding? That's a cell
Well,
phone.
you remember at the RNC thing they held a couple of months ago? Remember the guy that made that stupid statue, the gold one?
Uh-huh.
Well, he said that statue was in response to the Donald Trump sitting on the toilet bobblehead because he thought that was an affront to Trump. So he wanted to make a statue that would show the greatness of the real Trump. So,
like I say all the time, people will sell their soul to the devil and they will believe anything. But hey, but other than that, man, I appreciate it. It's always good talking with you. Tomorrow
yeah,
night,
good talking with you.
yeah, tomorrow night I'm gonna be kind of catching up on some things and but we're definitely gonna have a good night tomorrow night. Been a while since I did ask Kurt Dog anything, so may do that tomorrow night and just have a conversation, have fun with it. But like I tell people all the time, if you ask me a question, please prepare yourself for the answer because I'm gonna be straight up honest with you. I don't lie, so if you ask me something, I'm gonna tell you up front. Give you an answer, it's either gonna be yay or nay, or you're gonna be like, "Oh Lord, he's for real." Like the guy asked me if I smoke weed. No, I don't. But if it was legal here, yes, I would. So I'm just saying I would if it was legal, but no, I don't do that anymore.
I don't do drugs either, and it's funny. People say to me, they go, "But you're a musician, don't you do drugs?" I go, "No, I tried weed when I was a kid. I just didn't like it."
I I used to smoke back in the days, but I feel like marijuana, alcohol, is a mind game. I could do with it or without it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
When I decided to make the decision to drive trucks, I stopped smoking weed cold turkey. Had it in the house, wouldn't even touch it because I had a goal. So, and I think it probably had been 6 months to almost a year, and someone came to visit, and they seen I had some weed. I was like, man, that weed I ain't touched that in since I started driving trucks. And they were like, well, can I have it? I don't care. You can throw it away, keep it, whatever. I don't care. I'm just not smoking it. So, but
yeah.
yeah.
The only time I ever saw somebody doing cocaine, I remember I was sitting in with these guys at a rehearsal spot, like their drummer hadn't shown up, and I was practicing on my own, and they asked me if I wanted to come and sit in with them. And I went, sure. And they had cocaine there.
Mm.
And I thought cocaine was like, you snorted it and then you were good for the rest of the night. Like I saw these guys like every like 2 minutes going and snorting another line. And I remember asking them, I'm going, why you got to keep snorting? And he goes, well, you got to keep the high going. And I'm sitting watching them. And I'm like, oh, this isn't for me. I'm watching this and go, that looks pretty expensive. Like, you're getting up every 2 minutes doing this. And then they were grinding their teeth, like while they're talking to you. And I'm like, nah, I don't think I'm
That's too
doing
much. I never
I
had.
think you guys could stick to the cocaine. I'm going to take a pound because it just looked like it was like, man, no, this is definitely not my thing. Like, that's like $800 you could be doing every day doing that stuff.
Oh, some people done more than that. I've never done any hard drugs. I never had the desire to. I'm one
Well,
of those type. I don't even like taking pain pills. If I have to take pain pills, I'm in pain. But in about a day or two, I'm done with them. I just don't. Nah, I'm scared about becoming addicted, and I'm like, no, I'm not taking that chance. I have a high tolerance for pain anyway, but I'm not going to take pain pills in order to um, just to say I took them. I don't do that.
yeah, they banned OxyContin up here. You can't buy it up here anymore.
Yeah, because a lot of my doctors from having shoulder surgery, a lot of them have prescribed it to me, and I'm very nervous about that because you hear about all this addiction to it. I'm like, no,
Yeah.
even what they have to do, uh, they have to give me a letter saying explaining that I can become addicted. Well, I don't like taking stuff I can be addicted to. Um, I'm like, no, I'm not gonna mess my life up for that. No.
No.
And so,
And and there's some people, unfortunately, they have an addictive personality and they have a tough time shaking it.
yeah,
There's some people they can quit. Some people, they struggle with it for a long time and then quit. And then there's some people, it's just, they'll stop and then they start so addiction is not like a weakness. It's some people, they just have that addictive personality. And once, and stopping drinking or drugs is a real challenge for them.
yeah, I can't. I like to be in control of my mind. I can't do something that I can't control. Like whenever I had surgery, yeah, that first night I'm gonna take the pain pill, but by that second day or the next day, I'm getting myself off of it. I'm not gonna
Yeah.
continue taking pain pills 3 times a day, and I don't need them. Uh,
And that was the thing that made me upset with George Floyd. It's the people that were attacking his character were saying, well, he was a drug addict, as if because he has an addiction, somehow he's weak and his life doesn't matter as much. I just can't stand that because people that deal with addiction are in every race, every walk of life. There's doctors that are addicted to drugs. There's lawyers, you name it. And, to take somebody's name and just smear it and go, oh, well, he was just on drugs and he resisted cops, so he got what he deserved. I just find that absolutely, that is just not right at all because he had his challenges like everybody else has their challenges in life. And just, because somebody's addicted to something that called them weak, I just can't stand that.
yeah, that's kind of like when you talk about doctors. The first doctor that did surgery on my shoulder, and that's why now I pay attention to anything when it's dealing with medical. I search everybody' medical record. If I'm working with you, I search your medical record. If it's bad, I don't fool with you. And I wish
Yeah.
I would have done that with the first surgery I had on my shoulder because I come to find out after I got the infection and it cost me 6 weeks of my life in the hospital. Um,
Wow.
Come to find out, I it was a young lady that was next door to me, and I would walk around the hospital just to get exercise. And she seen me downstairs and she asked me, "Oh, you had shoulder surgery?" I said, "Yes, ma'am." She was like, "Who was your doctor?" And soon as I said his name, she went to cussing.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, "Huh?" She like, "Oh, he worked on several of my patients, and they never been the same." So when I got back to my room, I pulled my iPad out and I'm doing research and I'm finding all this information on this dude. And I started searching his medical license and kind of find out he did time in prison for abusing the prescription law, writing prescription for himself.
Oh, man.
Um, he quit practicing at one point. He gave up his license before they wouldn't take it from him when he went to prison. And this dude, one of the local station, did a story on him. And I talked to that reporter after I got out the hospital, and when I mentioned his name, she was like, "Is he still practicing?" I said, "Yes." She was like, "I'm surprised he haven't killed nobody."
So he was an orthopedic surgeon?
Yes.
Wow.
And I said, "Man, never again." But before I left that hospital, I changed doctors. I said, "No, he would never do anything for me again."
Oh man, well, yeah, infections are a serious business, man. Like they kill a lot of people in hospitals every year.
Trust me, I know, because the nurses, because I was there for 6 weeks, they became pretty friendly with me, and we would talk all the time. They would come into my room on a break just to talk because they was like, "We heard so much about you and love your spirit." And one, she broke it down to me. She said, "Kirk Dog, I'm glad you came in when you did. If you would have waited another day or two, you wouldn't be here."
Oh wow,
And I'm like, "Wow,
that's scary.
yeah, it is." And the thing is, because I took pictures every time I went to the doctor, I was take pictures of my wound so I could see exactly how it looked. And I'm asking this guy the whole time. I'm like, "Hey, doc, this don't look right." "Oh no, it looked good. It looked great." 2 days later, I'm like, "Dude, this don't look right." They come ask me, "Have you been digging in it?" I'm like, "Hell no. Why would I be digging in a wound?" So I was like, "No." But I said, "Never again." I got out of there.
That's amazing how he still had operating privileges at that hospital.
Yeah, he do. And
Wow,
from my understanding, he's still practicing. So it,
really?
yeah, I'm gonna do a show about that in a couple of months, and and at that point is I'm gonna pretty much expose him because everything I'm saying is on his medical license. Um, it's amazing how Texas Medical Board, kind of like the law here in Texas, give these doctors a flap on the wrist when he was addicted to to pain medication and abusing the prescription laws, and then turn around and did time in prison for it, and you give him his license back. Even spent time in a psych ward.
Hmm.
So
Well, again, it just goes to show you, addiction is it can happen to anybody.
yeah,
Doctors even like people think, oh, it wouldn't happen to a doctor. They know what drugs can do. Well, it just shows you the power of addiction.
yeah, and I'm left with with scars all on my shoulder. I've had 8 surgeries so far on my shoulder.
8?
8.
Wow,
8. Yes.
that's crazy.
So all because of him. So that is crazy. He would never be able to touch me. So if anybody who I deal with, I always do a background check on them. I don't care who it is. I don't care who recommend them. I do a background check to make sure um, their license is in order. Now my orthopedic now, he's great. He's great. But
Yeah, when I was young, I dislocated my shoulder, and they put it back in, and they said, well, if it becomes a chronic thing, you might end up having to have shoulder surgery down the line. And my shoulder used to pop out like every once in a while, and I just put it back in myself. And then for about a year, it seemed like it was coming out quite a bit, and so I went and talked to I knew a guy that he'd had the surgery to fix it, and he said to me right away, he said, well, how often is your shoulder popping out? And I said, I don't know, maybe 3-4 times a year. And he said, you know what? He goes, go to the gym and work on your strengthening your shoulder. He goes, because he goes, I had the surgery, and he goes, ever since I had it, I've had nothing but problems. And he goes, don't do the surgery until you absolutely, like if it's coming out every day or, every other day, he goes, then, you got to look at it. But he goes, having surgery is a big step. And he goes, and if it, he said, now when his shoulder comes out, it comes out like way worse than what it used to because he had the surgery. So he told me, he said, just hold off. And so I took his advice, and luckily, that was like 15 years ago, and my shoulder hasn't come out since because I started working with weights and tightening up the muscles there. But I'm glad I talked to him because I was ready to go and have the surgery. And who knows, I could be like you, maybe like I end up having like 5 surgeries on the same thing. You just never know.
Yeah, you never know. And it's not like what it used to be. When you're dealing with hospitals and doctors, check their background. That's the advice I tell everybody. Check their background because you don't know. You mess around and get up in there and unable to walk out.
Well, definitely don't go with a guy called Dr. Trump.
I thought you were finna say that doctor name when you started saying it. I'm like, Lord, how do he know? But yeah, but I'm gonna eventually do a show on this, but I need to wait on that for a minute. But this doctor should not be practicing at all. Um, and he still do old school. So I have when I say old school, technology do change. But he still do it the old school way. I have a cut from the arm of my pit all the way up until halfway across my shoulder. So
do you remember the Learning Channel? They used to. This was back in the early '90s. They used to have this program called The Operation. Show like a full medical procedure.
Okay, yeah, I think I've seen something like that, or maybe in another show, Emergency Room or something.
Well, this one, it would show like hip replacement. And I remember watching it, and the thing was about an hour and a half long, and I was just like taken aback, like it's like carpentry. They got hammers and, and it's like, drilling and banging stuff into place. And it's like, and I know what you mean. Like the incisions are just big, like they're huge because they got to open up all the whole joint, right? And it's a very invasive, like you said, the old school way is a very invasive procedure. Whereas nowadays they kind of, I think they use laparoscopically when they can to minimize like the damage to your muscles and things like. But not every hip replacement, you can't do that laparoscopically. So it was a very, it's a pretty involved procedure.
Yes, it is. So what radio, this show been good, man. We've been on here for 2 hours. So that's a pretty good while. I try to stick to an hour and a half. I know Rick's gonna be like, why you stay on there for 2? Look, I'm just trying to having conversation, good talk. But tomorrow night we're gonna be working on some stuff, and Risk and I know it's been a while since we done it. She called me Sunday. She don't call me on the weekend. She like, hey, I think we're gonna end up doing another show to talk about the difference between black laws and white laws again. Because we done it last year. But now she like, I think we need to do another one. I said, however you want to do it. So I think that's going to come up in the next couple of weeks. And we're going to be doing that because people need to understand the difference. And we see it all the time, but some people just blind to the fact of it. So, but
that's cool.
I definitely appreciate you for calling in tonight, radio. I enjoyed the conversation. Tomorrow night, Wednesday night, y'all can catch us at 8 p.m. Central Time. We will have another great show. Please get out and vote. Get out and vote. If you're not registered to vote already, go ahead and get registered for the next election. You will be ready and don't have to try to get ready. So check out your candidates that are running in your city, your state, and please get out and vote. So until tomorrow night, I love each and every one of you. Until then, peace.